The story begins in a classroom where a teacher was calmly teaching children. But at that very moment, the classroom door suddenly opened and soldiers came inside carrying weapons. They ordered all the students and teachers to sit down. One soldier showed a photo on his phone and asked the teacher who this person was. The teacher didn't want to say anything, but under pressure he reluctantly pointed toward David. The group leader ordered everyone to leave the class. Only David would stay behind. Because of this immense pressure, David's visions came back. He tried to control himself, but suddenly a powerful wave of energy burst out from his body, and the soldiers were thrown backwards. At that very moment, a blue light began emanating from his eyes. When one soldier came to attack, David struck him with a pen. Another soldier started shooting. But when the remaining soldiers aimed their weapons at him, David used one soldier's body as a shield and took his knife. Within just a few seconds, David took down another soldier with the knife and then shoved another one off a table and out through the window. Now, only the group leader remained. The leader drew his weapon, but David ran rapidly along the wall, closed the distance, and kicked him down. Then, he threw him out of the classroom. Professor Henderson was stunned watching all of this. He now understood that David's visions were not merely his imagination. He truly was extremely powerful. Now the story went back a little, and we see this same boy David in a lab where a doctor was quietly observing him. The doctor asked him if he had felt anything. As soon as the boy tried to recall, a strange vision appeared before him. He saw a room where nurses were tying him down forcefully, and a doctor was standing a little distance away, watching him very carefully, as though some kind of experiment was being conducted. Just then, a creature appeared before him, whose entire body was burning in flames. The boy looked at his right hand and was startled. He had a knife in his hand. The creature moved forward to attack, and the patient began striking it with the knife. This fight was still going on when he suddenly jolted awake in a room. David was constantly troubled by these visions. Sometimes he would also see other people whose bodies were burning in flames. Hearing his loud screams, his uncle Andre immediately came into the room and calmed him down by giving him medicine. Everyone had started to believe that David was suffering from some kind of mental illness. That is why it was very important for him to keep taking medication continuously so that these visions could be kept under control. After this, David got ready for school. As soon as he reached school, his best friend May came to meet him. She told David to come quickly to the classroom because both of them were about to be late. Inside the class, Professor Henderson was teaching the human development theory. He explained that a human being passes through different stages from childhood to adulthood. Each stage has its own significance. While the professor was explaining, he noticed that David was looking out of the window. He had absolutely no attention in class. The professor made him stand up and said, "David, quickly tell me what is going on in class." David was a little nervous, but he gave a completely correct answer, and the professor was also impressed hearing his response. After this, the soldiers made their entry, and we arrived right back at where the story had started. After defeating all of them, David immediately fled from there. A few minutes later, more agents arrived whose leader was Collins. Collins spoke to the class teacher and said that this boy who had fled was very dangerous. It was necessary to stop him. The teacher told him that David lived in a flat in the city with his uncle Andre. As soon as this information was received, Collins went to the security head Jan and reported that the boy had been found. Jan immediately ordered that he must be caught no matter what. At that same moment, Mr. Shiro was telling investors about his new energy project. Just then, his secretary took him aside and quietly told him that the boy had been found. This energy project was actually connected to the experiment that had been conducted on David. Shiro told the secretary to let Jan handle this matter, but keep an eye on him so that information about the project does not leak to the media. Meanwhile, Andre was shopping at the market when David suddenly showed up beside him and asked for help. David said that something very wrong had happened at school, but he did not give any details. Even so, Andre immediately understood that the situation was serious. He told David to quickly go to the flat and also take out whatever was hidden behind the painting in the wall. Before leaving, Andre hugged David and explained the full plan. David moved toward the exit but collided with a supermarket employee on the way. At that very moment, Collins and his agents showed up there. Hearing the commotion, they began chasing David. David barely managed to escape from there, but his uncle Andre was caught, and Collins's people took him away. Poor David could not do anything. Now he ran across the rooftops and reached his apartment. When he looked behind the painting, he found a hidden box. Inside the box were his medicines and all their dosages written out. There was also a sealed envelope with his name written on it. Just then, the building's alarm suddenly started ringing. Through the security camera, he saw that agents were entering the building. There was no time at all. David put the box in his bag and quickly started to leave the apartment. Just then, an unknown man suddenly attacked him. David immediately got up and asked who he was, but the man stayed silent. He kept moving straight toward him. David tried to stop his attack using his agility and strength, but the enemy was even faster. He shoved David hard, and David went crashing into a cupboard. The man suddenly drew his sword and moved forward to attack David directly. David was forced to block the sword with his bare hand, but the blade cut deep into his hand. In pain, David started retreating. Just then, with the help of a mirror, he saw that creature's body burning in flames again. The moment he saw this, David's power awakened. He immediately grabbed the enemy's sword and struck back hard, but soon, the weapon fell from David's hand. Now both of them started throwing punches at each other, but David was faster and gradually began to dominate. During this, the energy from David's body healed the wound on his hand in just a moment. Then suddenly the light in his eyes went out, as though his power had run out. The enemy attacked again, but David, while defending himself, threw him hard into the wall. But the man still did not stop. He threw another sword at David. David had just blocked the attack when the man pulled out yet another sword. Now David also quickly pulled out the sword that was lodged in the wall, and the fight between the two began again. His enemy was also using the same kind of power. When David took the support of a table to protect himself, his enemy used his power to slice the table cleanly in half. After this, the villain hurled an enormously powerful force at David, which sent him crashing through the wall onto the other side. This fight had now become even more dangerous, but at just the right moment, David reached into his backpack, pulled out a medicine, and injected it into the enemy. The effect of that medicine began to show gradually. His enemy still wanted to fight, but due to the medicine he was becoming weaker and weaker, and David also saw his opportunity and took his sword. Now, David had two swords. He delivered a double attack and threw the man into the wall, ending the fight. After this battle, when David came to his senses and saw the man lying on the floor, he felt bad, but he had no other choice. Now he immediately ran toward the roof. There he came face to face with Collins and a guard. Even so, David leapt from one rooftop to another and slipped into an alley from there. But after all this effort, he fell ill and lost consciousness. Meanwhile, Collins and his team were investigating the wrecked apartment. During the search, they found a photo frame that had a photo of May in it. Collins decided that he would now find May. A little while later, David regained consciousness. He started running again, and then a short distance away he checked the envelope he had received. Inside the envelope was a device with a screen. As soon as he touched it, a recording began playing. In that recording, a scientist named Dr. Chen had explained that experiments had been conducted on David and several other children. These experiments were meant to make the human species absolutely perfect. These children were brought into contact with the power of another dimension. Most of the children did not survive. David was one of the very few who had. Dr. Chen explained that he and his partner, Dr. Jenkins, had taken care of David. After listening to the recording, David was confused. He had no one to turn to for help. That is why he went to May's house. There he saw May heading toward the park. David quietly began following her. As soon as May saw David, she was happy and ran toward him. But suddenly, she saw an armed man behind David who was just about to fire. May tried to warn David. David was just about to turn and look when an unknown man stepped in between. But the thug, without thinking, shot that man too and also fired at David. David immediately hid among the trees. That thug was also killing civilians who came in his way. But taking advantage of this chaos, David and May fled from there. This area had already been surrounded by Agent Collins's team. One agent spotted them crossing under a bridge. He used a rope to jump across and began chasing them. Running rapidly toward the jungle, May fell down. Then, David came face to face with that agent who was wearing boxing gloves. There was a special power in that agent's punches. A special kind of wave was emanating from each punch. David was trying to avoid him, but he was left stunned by the agent's strength. When David stood up, he saw that the agent had once again transformed into a burning creature. David changed his strategy and instead of punching, started kicking, because although that agent was an expert at boxing, he could not handle David's new fighting style. David shoved him and knocked him into the river. Even so, the agent got back up. The agent threw David toward a table. Now he grabbed David and started choking him by the throat. Just then, 2 more agents arrived. Both were ready with guns. David immediately attacked and used his enemy's body as a human shield to protect himself from the bullets. In this way, 1 more of his enemies was finished. But now 2 agents stood ready before David. One was a girl who was a kicking specialist, and the other agent fought with batons. Their attacks were so fast that David couldn't even react and eventually lost consciousness. The agent placed his foot on David's neck and released a powerful energy shock at him. Everyone thought the story had ended right here, but at that very moment, David's eyes opened. That same blue light began emanating from his body again. As soon as his power returned, David immediately stood up. He slammed one agent hard into a tree and knocked his companion down with a spinning kick. The third agent, who was a girl, turned and tried to attack, but David blocked all her attacks and drove her head into the trunk of a tree. By then, the second agent had come back. He struck David with his short batons, but David, while dodging, delivered a powerful kick to him. Now both agents understood that David had become stronger than before. They attacked him together and slammed him into a dustbin lying nearby. Even so, David got back up again. He pulled out a pole that was fixed in the ground and turned it into a weapon. Even while fighting both of them at the same time, David was dominating. Soon he knocked the girl down and finished her off with the pole. The agent was trying to escape, but David launched him into the air and delivered the final blow to his neck. Now David's anger had gone beyond his control. Just then May, who had been watching the entire fight, called out David's name loudly. Hearing her voice, David gradually calmed down. Somewhere far away in a building, Lord Shiro's men told him that the attempt to catch the boy had failed. Hearing this, the old man got angry and went straight to Jan. At that time, Jan was in one of the company's labs, conducting research on his new creation, Agent Number 2. He had locked Agent Number 2 in a room with 4 bodyguards and instructed them all to fight simultaneously. Agent Number 2 defeated all of them with great ease. Seeing this, Collins was very impressed. Jan said that their planning was now moving forward. A little while later, Lord Shiro summoned both of them. He demanded an explanation for failing to catch the boy. Jan said they were doing their best, but Shiro was restless. He said that if the job wasn't done quickly, he would fire all of them. But even this threat did not frighten Jan. He said that he had created a new and most dangerous weapon. Then he revealed Agent Number 2, explaining that this was the most skilled and fully obedient agent ever created. To showcase this, Jan ordered Agent Number 2 to kill the man standing in front. The agent immediately began moving toward Lord Shiro. Then, Jan immediately cancelled the order. Seeing this, Shiro was astonished. He said that this agent should be sent quickly to catch the boy. But Shiro did not know that Agent Number 2 only followed Jan's orders. In reality, Jan now wanted to become the boss himself. Meanwhile, David and May, while fleeing, hid inside an exhibition. As soon as they entered, David was troubled by those old visions again. He saw himself in Dr. Chen's and Dr. Jenkins's lab along with the other children. David got nervous, but May calmed him down and said everything would be all right. David apologized for getting her into trouble, but May said that she would stay with him until the very end. Just then, the sound of a gunshot was heard. May was shot in the head and she fell to the ground. Seeing this, David was completely shattered. He kept trying to hold her, but by then, the soldiers sent by Lord Shiro had surrounded the entire place and bullets started raining in from every direction. After this, they threw a gas bomb inside and started searching for David inside the building, but they did not know that David was still alive. His power had awakened again and he started defeating the soldiers. But finally, someone injected him with a sedative from behind and David fell to the ground unconscious. The moment he lost consciousness, the lab memories returned to his mind again. A little while later, his body came into contact with the power of the other world. He saw Dr. Jenkins before him. The doctor asked, "Do you remember your name?" David replied, "Yes, David." Hearing this, the doctor was astonished. because the other children in the lab had not been able to retain their identities. Then David was questioned further. David said that he remembered the feeling of love and that he wanted to feel it again. Just then he began hearing voices that said he should forget everything because his only purpose was to complete his tasks. After this frightening dream, when David opened his eyes, he was tied to a chair. Before him was his uncle Andre, whose face was injured. A little while later, Jan arrived there. He said that he knew Andre and needed his help. He asked Andre to reveal the secret messages of Project Misa. Andre refused. Then, Jan picked up a gun and pointed it at David's head. Andre told David that everything would be all right and still kept refusing to reveal anything. Now Jan's patience had run out. He pointed the gun at Andre. This made David panic and he said, "Don't fire." But Jan had understood that Andre would say nothing. So he fired the shot. Then he told his men to remove the dead body from here and also finish off the boy because there was no need for him anymore. Just then, some nurses arrived there. They attached an electroshock machine to David's head and began delivering powerful shocks to his brain. Due to these intense shocks, David lost consciousness. In his unconscious state, he reached the deepest part of his own mind. There he had an encounter with his other self. That other self explained that it was the power living inside David that had formed after coming into contact with the energy of another world. It said that if he wanted, it could give him full power. He could take his revenge. But David refused. He said that he did not want to finish anyone. Then, that other self reminded him that all the people he had loved were now gone. Now, as memories of Andre and May came flooding back, David's heart changed. He joined hands with the power within himself, and together the two became ready for the next fight. At that very moment, the nurse switched off the electric device. They thought that with so much shock, the boy's memory would have been wiped. Then the doctor asked David, "What is your name? And also, state the purpose of your life." David quietly answered that he had no name, and that his only purpose now was to take revenge. As soon as he said this, energy began bursting out of his body with full force. He broke his handcuffs and attacked the doctor and nurses present in the room. Meanwhile, Dr. Shiro still had no idea what was happening inside. He immediately called his helper and said to shut down Jan's entire operation. He revealed that he had already received the information he needed to move forward and that he was about to begin the second stage of his experiment. He also said that no evidence should be left behind. Therefore, not just the documents, but all the people connected to the experiment should be eliminated. The helper immediately followed orders and sent his soldiers after Jan. At that time, Jan was leaving the base with Collins. As soon as the soldiers aimed their weapons at him, Jan removed his glasses. Just like David, a glowing red light also began emanating from his eyes. He awakened his power and moved forward at great speed. Drawing a sword hidden inside his cane, he defeated all the soldiers. Jan had realized that Dr. Shiro had now become his enemy. He immediately told Collins to get out of there because he still had every intention of taking over the company. Meanwhile, David was also trying to get out of that place. On the way, he encountered a group of soldiers. They tried to stop him, but David defeated all of them using his power. As the path cleared, David moved forward, but the way ahead was blocked by iron bars. Just then, Agent Number 2 suddenly attacked from behind. David immediately stood up and began throwing punches and kicks at him. But Agent Number 2 absorbed all of it and turned around and launched a fierce attack on David. After this, the agent slammed David into the wall near the electrical lab. David tried to escape, but this time, he lost easily. The agent tied him up with a chain and left him hanging. Now David would be finished in a very short time. His end was near when he saw his other self before him again, who told him to remember all his pain. As soon as David did this, the lab memories flooded back into his mind. He saw a man burning in fire. David had stabbed him repeatedly with a knife. Then he realized that the man had been wearing a mask. When he removed the mask, it turned out to be Dr. Jenkins. Seeing this, David's heart became even more tormented, but his anger had grown so intense that the power within him began to surge outward. He broke the chain around his neck. He launched such ferocious attacks on Agent Number 2 that the agent had no chance to even escape. The agent still tried to fight, but David knocked him to the ground and broke his arm with his foot. In the end, David hung the agent upside down and killed him with a dart. This fight was over, but David's real fight had only just begun. The movie ends with this scene. its second part never came out, so what will happen next in the story, that remains unknown. That's it for today. Hope you enjoyed. Like the video, subscribe to Cinema Recap, hit the bell icon, and let me know your thoughts on the movie in the comments section.